There we go.
Yeah, you trapped. Tracked.
Miss Amy? Oh. Can you hear me? I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? I can hear you. All right, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday. I know this
Monkey.
Yes, this one.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay. I'm not gonna go off Discord. That I'm gonna stay on this screen. I worry that maybe I screwed it up when I went to go to Twitch.
There's so many screens down here.
Yeah,
AV is a nightmare, and thankfully we have. We are still learning these things.
Good.
Okay. Well, wait, welcome, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us during the finale. We're incredibly thankful for all the amazing things the community organization does. We want to showcase all the folks who we are so proud to help and support. So if you could you please let us know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna apologize. My husband is not home, so that means the dogs think that I am their human for the moment. So they are gonna try and invade this call, I'm sure. Um, so I'm Amy Lynn Clark. I've met some of you at the Triangle Walk in Raleigh, some of you at the Greensboro Walk in Greensboro, and the rest of you I've not had the privilege of meeting. So I am the Director of Development for ALS United North Carolina. I handle the majority of the center of the state. I handle the Triangle and the Greensboro markets and the Triad, as well as I handle all of our, what we like to call our major accounts. So Papa Barks falls into that category. So you guys are duly one of my accounts, of course, because of your relationship originally in the Triangle with Team Dong Bomb. So I talk about you all the time. And it is just such a cool thing to be a part of. So my role at ALS United is kind of a little bit of everything. I handle mainly our corporate relationships. I handle, like I said, the 2 walks that fall into those markets and anything else that falls under those categories. So I have a couple other large put on fundraisers that happen both in Greensboro and in the Triangle. And I also handle all of the what we call community partner events. So things like Papa Barks, things like I have a music and a mission event that happens. We've got a lot of significant fundraisers that happen particularly out of the Triangle market. So a lot of people there, walk might not necessarily be their thing. So they work hard to try and find what is their thing, kind of like you guys. For many years, I worked with the American Cancer Society doing this same sort of job. And I used to say to people there, find what makes you smile and then figure out a way to make money from it. So I love that you guys have done just that.
That is actually a really good motto. Out of curiosity, how many years have you been supporting ALS United North Carolina?
So I've been with ALS United North Carolina for just under 3 years, I think. I think my third anniversary is coming up at the end of August. But I have been supporting ALS for many years. Most of us come with our own ALS story. And I am no different in that way. We had a dear family friend that was diagnosed with ALS when he was just 24 years old. And he was with us. We had Stephen until just past his 40th birthday, which ironically happened to be the September before I was hired. So we actually lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My husband and I, see, there she goes. She's not getting attention. So my husband and I moved here in January of 23 for me to take a job with another local nonprofit. That job did not work out, much to my benefit. Dave Shore, our old CEO, had found me and had started to recruit me for the job here at ALS United because I had met him through my work with what was then ALS Association Western Pennsylvania. So I have been involved with ALS Association and now ALS United for many, many years. We had been walking as a friends and family team in Pittsburgh from the first year Stephen was diagnosed, and we actually still walk there as a friends and family team every September. So,
Yeah, I know.
yep.
For a lot of folks, especially within our team, our admin team has been trying to come to every single walk. So I think one of the things that a lot of the folks within our community have always asked, and we can only share so much. I think it would be awesome if you don't mind, if you could tell us a little bit about some of the things that our donations go towards.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So, the biggest thing that your donations go towards is to support our six. And I think I can say this. If not, Mary, if you're watching, I apologize. Our soon-to-be seventh ALS clinic. So we just got notification last week that I know that you've been with us for a long time, so you've heard us talk about how we never wanted anyone in North Carolina to have to drive further than 90 minutes to a multidisciplinary clinic across the state. And with our 6 clinics, we were accomplishing that in all areas with the exception of the mountains. So kind of that Asheville area, we were struggling because those patients were either having to drive into the First Baptist or the Wake Forest Baptist Clinic in Wake Forest, or they were having to drive, or in Winston-Salem, or they were having to drive down to the Charlotte Clinic. Or if they were wanting to come to Duke, of course, they were driving into Raleigh. So more than a 90-minute drive, no matter how you shook it. And we really were looking at how we could make that happen. And we were just about ready to launch that when Helene came through a year ago. So that really kind of put us back a little bit. We had to focus on Helene and the rebuild that was happening in those communities because of that. And we got notice from the neurologist that they think that they will be ready to start the clinic meeting one. They will have one clinic day a month. It'll probably be the first Wednesday of every month. And they're hoping to be ready to start that either the first week in September, that's our goal at this point, or the first week in October. So we are excited to say that with the addition of that 7th clinic, we will have multidisciplinary clinics within a 90-minute drive of anyone in the entire state of North Carolina, which is huge. Most states cannot say that. So we are proud of the fact that we fall into that category and that we can say that. So for those of you who don't know, a multidisciplinary clinic means that the ALS patient and their caregiver come to the clinic, and then the clinicians round robin them. So they don't actually move. They go to one exam room, and then the clinicians move from room to room. So they will see everybody in one day. It does make for a very exhausting day, particularly for the patient, but for the caregivers as well. But having been in those shoes, it is a much better situation than having to pack that ALS patient up and take them to 5 or 6 or 7 different appointments in a given month. So they will see everybody from their neurologist to their speech pathologist. If they have durable medical equipment, we have durable medical equipment suppliers. They have a rep that are there, and our reps can fix, for instance, a wheelchair if it's rattling or it's not sitting properly. Our techs come with their full toolboxes in their vans, and they can fix most problems right there in-house at the clinic. They will meet with their pharmacy team, with their nutritionist, anybody who is affected, who is a part of that disciplinary team, will be at the clinic on those clinic days. Their social worker, their ALS United rep, everyone rotates through, and most patients, depending on the progress of their disease, come to the clinic about once every 3 months. Some are once every 6 months if they're in slower progression phases. But having that multidisciplinary clinic is huge, and that is the biggest portion of our budget annually. Some of the other things that your money and your donations go towards are our patient care grants. So every ALS patient, no matter their diagnosis, no matter their progression, they are eligible for up to $1,500 a year in reimbursable medical expenses. So anything that they are paying out of pocket that relates to their ALS diagnosis, we will cover it up to $750 twice a year. That can be anything from, I have a patient who said to me recently, but Amy, I don't have anything that my insurance doesn't cover, that we're paying out of pocket for, that we need. And I said, knowing this patient very well, I said, well, don't you get massages twice a month? And he stopped and he looked at me and he said, you know that I get massages twice a month. I said, yeah. I said, and those are reimbursable. I said, because the reason that you're getting those massages, I said, is because you're sitting in that power chair for 12, 15, 16 hours a day. So any things that you don't even think about, being reimbursable are reimbursable. If you have to have a copay for your pharmaceutical needs, if you have to buy a shower chair, if you have to pay for a sitter to come into the house so that your wife can, go to a girls' night or, go to a doctor's appointment, any and all of those things are reimbursable up to that $750. Free, no questions asked. As long as you're a patient within our system, you get that option. We also support our durable medical equipment loan closets. So that means that people can loan things from us, like power wheelchairs, scooters, walkers, shower chairs, Hoyer lifts, you name it, we have it in the closet. And some of those things, our biggest need always are what we call jazzies. They're kind of a in-between step of a power wheelchair. They're kind of like a power scooter. And the problem is, all insurance companies will reimburse for a jazzy. They cost about $2,500. Problem being, every ALS patient, if they live to the end of the progression of their disease, is almost always going to need a full power wheelchair. Problem being, if your insurance company reimburses for a jazzy wheelchair because you apply for it, they're going to reimburse you for it, no questions asked. But say 6 or 8 months from there, you need a full-size power wheelchair, which averages in cost anywhere between $25,000 and $40,000, depending on the scale of the chair you need. The insurance company is going to come back to you and say, nope, sorry, we reimbursed you for a power wheelchair already, because they consider that jazzy to be your one-time reimbursable expense for a power wheelchair. So unfortunately, if we have patients who don't know these things, they get into situations where, we have to help them pay for that power wheelchair because of that. So we try and encourage people to borrow jazzies from us. Problem is, we usually have a waiting list because good and bad of the disease, we're making headway. So people are living longer with the disease. It's not progressing as fast as it once did in some patients. So some patients are staying in those jazzies longer. So they're not getting returned to us as quickly as they can. So I'm constantly on the lookout for companies who can write us significant size checks, particularly in the denomination dollar value of about $2,500, so that we can, buy new jazzies and those kind of things. So We also have our support groups that meet monthly, bi-monthly, weekly, you name it, we've got a support group for it. I'm always proud to say that here in North Carolina, we have one of the few genetic counseling support groups, because at the Winston-Salem Clinic, we have a genetics counselor who specializes in ALS. So we have people from all across the country who log into our genetics support group because their ALS United organization does not have it. And all of the other things that we do, our social outings with our patients. I was just at a soccer game a couple weekends ago. All of that stuff is what we do with your donor dollars. Not to mention research. Of course, research, I tend to think of the mission, the tangible stuff that we spend our money on. But mission, of course, our research, of course, is such a huge part of that bucket as well. So.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of the things that, we can kind of try to explain as much as we can, but truly hearing it from you guys, it makes a huge difference because there's so many things that, even me as a family member, I don't fully know everything that you guys do because there's so much. So I really appreciate that. I know a lot of us folks have heard us talk about you guys during this event quite a bit. But one of the things I really want to ask you is, what are some events outside of Papa Barks that folks can participate in to help support the fight against ALS?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I would say to make sure that you follow us on all of our social platforms. Our Director of Communications and Marketing, Marco, is great about making sure that everything that is happening is out on our Facebook page and our Twitter. Pardon me, our X. Make sure that you're following. Make sure that you're following those platforms because everything gets posted there. But we've always got something going on. Particularly in my market, it's a very active market. But there's lots of ways for you to get engaged with us. If you're in the Greensboro market, coming up in the next couple weeks, we've got a Uncork a Cure that's happening at the Tasting Room in Greensboro. Like I said, we just had a soccer game last weekend. Earlier back in June, we have a partnership with the Durham Bulls. We had a Strikeout ALS night. So we are always looking at ways that we can partner with other organizations in town to raise awareness for ALS. We also have, like I said, we've got lots of great things happening. If anybody in the group is a marathon runner or a 5K runner or a half marathon runner or any of the above, I do not qualify, but any of the above, we are launching a new partnership right now with the City of Oaks Marathon in Raleigh, which happens to be the largest marathon in the state, that people can run in our what we're calling the Miles That Matter program, where you can register with the City of Oaks Marathon, and then you come back to us on a website and you register with us to participate in the Miles That Matter program. And then there's certain thresholds that you meet. If you, depending on which race you're running, if you raise X amount of dollars, I will then send you out an individualized racing shirt that you can wear for training purposes that has your individual QR code on it, so that people can donate right to your fundraising page. If you raise X amount of dollars, we'll reimburse your registration fee for the race. If you raise X amount of dollars, you get this. So it's just another way for us to meet those people. Like I said, we have people who the walk just isn't their thing, and for lots of years walk was the only thing we offered. So we're really trying to think outside the box and meet people where they are, so that we can share our story with them and how important it is what we do is. So I'm also working on a new program that's going to launch in a year from now, September, because we'd already kind of used the budgeting for 2025 on it. So in 2026, we are launching a new partnership with the Raleigh Beer Garden in downtown Raleigh. They had put in a new 18-hole miniature golf course. So we are adding what's really going to be just a fun social event. But we're putting together, think of it as a golf scramble, only putt-putt style. So it'll be, all you can eat and drink. Well, not drink. You're going to get X amount of coupons, but, beer and Food is going to be included. It's kind of, so we're replacing our Drive Out ALS event that we used to have at Drive Shack in Raleigh with this event. And I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to, Mark, you and I can speak to this because I know you and I are kind of in the same age bucket roughly. It kind of fits more our generation and below, whereas the Drive Out ALS event was really just, it was people who golfed and that was all that they were interested in. I can come out with my husband and some of his buddies and have a good night playing putt-putt and look like a fool and be totally fine. I cannot go to the driving range because I can't hit a golf ball to save my life. But everybody can hit a putt-putt ball. So this is just going to kind of be a cool event. It's going to happen on a weeknight. I believe the night that we have scheduled is a Wednesday currently with the following Thursday, the next Thursday as the rain date. So that's going to be something fun that we're working on. We're doing something right now for those of you on the airwaves that are from the Greensboro area. If anybody from your company would be interested, we are doing a program called Big Splash Corporate Challenge. So we are looking for corporate partners, kind of a spin-off of our Ice Bucket Challenge, where they would commit to raising $2,500 for us. And then all of those business executives are going to show up on a certain Wednesday, I believe it is. I don't have my calendar in front of me. A certain Wednesday in September, I believe it's the 24th. And they're going to play in the seasonal fountain splash pad, and they're going to get all wet, and we're going to take some marketing photos. And it's just going to be a great day for ALS awareness. So those are just some of the new things that we're kind of working on to kind of think outside the box and engage people. And we are always looking for new ideas. If there is somebody in your group who's got a great idea for a fundraiser, please reach out to Mark, get my email address, connect with me in any way you can. I would love to figure out a way to help you make that happen. I've got a group in Greensboro that just launched on their socials yesterday that we're doing a car cruise next April. Because car cruising is their thing, and he has ALS, and he was like, Amy Lynn, how can I do more to help ALS United? Like, my friends don't want to come to the walk. It's not their thing. And I was like, so let's have a car cruise. And he was like, can we do that? And I was like, Bert, we can do whatever you want. I said, we just have to figure out how to make it happen. So it's great. And that's why I love to talk about what you guys are doing, because it's just such a unique fundraiser.
Definitely appreciate it. I think thankfully we've gotten better every year, which has been really
agree.
Awesome. I think I have
no pressure, but I agree.
One of the things I think last thing before I have some silly questions, but before we get into those, I do want to say if you guys want to find these guys, it should be ALS NC chapter on Twitter and. Well, yeah, you guys don't use Blue Sky, but Twitter. So if you want to go find out anything that Amy was just talking about, please go check them out. I know Papa Barks and my individual Twitter has been posting and adding them as much as possible. So please go check them out.
I think we also have links to the website on our Papa
yeah,
Barks.
if you go to papabarks.als, it's also on, or papabarksals.org, it is also on there.
Which is papabarks.org.
papabarks.org. So
Please. We'll get there.
They'll keep you in line, Mark. No worries.
Oh, yeah. And so before I get into that, I think one of the things that I really I want to get from you, is there anything else that you would like to let our community know?
I think it's just awareness. The more that that we talk about this disease, I think about all those years ago when Stephen was diagnosed, and I will never forget, and I'm sure Mark, you have your own story in this regard, but I'll never forget the day that the doctor walked in and told our family that Stephen had ALS. And at that point, like I said, I had been working for the American Cancer Society. I could have told you anything you wanted to know about cancer, programs that the American Cancer Society was offering, the treatment plans, diagnosis, all of it. I knew nothing about ALS. I knew that it was Lou Gehrig's disease because I happened to come from a baseball family. My husband played Division I ball. He's a Division I ball coach. It was just, it was something I knew only because of the Lou Gehrig connection. I didn't, at that point, had never known anyone who had ALS. And then we went down a rabbit hole because I couldn't see this 24-year-old kid die from a disease that just seemed curable in my mind. Like, why did we not have a cure for this disease? And so I learned everything I could about this disease, and we did it all. We went to Mexico twice for stem cell transplants before they were legal here in the United States. We, if there was some hoochie coochie diet, we made sure that Stephen was on it. Like, we were grasping at every straw that we could get our hands on. And I say now, all these years later, now that I'm in the role that I'm in, when I go and talk to groups like yours, one of the first things I get told is, or I get asked is, you know, why is ALS considered a rare disease? It doesn't seem rare to me. You know, I can name 5 or 6 or 7 people I know in my immediate circle who have been diagnosed with ALS. And my first response to those people is always very quick. I will fight till the day I die that we stay in the rare disease accommodations bucket, because if we do not stay in that bucket, we then get lumped in with diseases like Alzheimer's, cancer, all of those other things. And when you put us against those kind of things, we are considered a rare disease. I know when it hits home, it doesn't seem like it's so rare, but compared to cancer and other things like it, ALS is a very rare disease. And because of that, we get research funding that we normally would not see if we were in that other bucket. So I fight hard to make sure that we will keep and forever keep that rare disease documentation. But I think the thing that is changing with ALS is that people aren't afraid, neurologists aren't as afraid to go down that rabbit hole and try and negate that diagnosis as they once were. Before, you would have had to go through 16 different things before then the neurologist was finally like, you know, it might be ALS. I don't know enough about it. I really need to get you to a neurologist who's an ALS specialist. And by that point, you've already had the symptoms for upwards of 18 to 24 months for some patients. For those of you on the call who are not uberly familiar with ALS, the average life expectancy for someone living with ALS is 3 to 5 years. And that's not 3 to 5 years from date of diagnosis, that's 3 to 5 years from the onset of symptoms. So if it's taking someone 18 to 24 months to be diagnosed with ALS, they're missing out on a whole lot of research opportunities. They're missing out on trials. They're missing out on early detection drugs that we have on the market now. And so the earlier we can have people being diagnosed is what's most important. And I think that because people are talking about it now, it's not such a, you know, my parents' generation and the generation that went before them were of a group of people who you didn't talk about that stuff. Like you just didn't. And now with the urge of modern technology, we are much more affluent with our information. So people are looking, they're going into doctors' offices being much more informed and knowing what they're asking. And I think that is helping us to be able to get those people diagnosed faster. So just keep talking about what we're doing. Keep talking about why this means so much to you. Even if the reason that you're on this call or the reason that you're a part of this group is because you know Mark or you knew Dog Bomb, you know, whatever your connection to this group is, if you don't have a personal ALS story yourself, just talk about this. Talk about why Mark's Barks and what they're doing with Papa Barks is so important to you. That's going to help us to make awareness more effective. Because when someone is diagnosed or when they start to see those symptoms, they're going to say, hey, I remember that thing that somebody told me about. They were doing some fundraiser for ALS. And they're going to come back to those people and say, hey, what can you tell me about this? And that is huge. You can never not talk about ALS enough as far as I'm concerned.
That really means a lot, Amy. I really appreciate that. It's kind of hard because I was like, Oh yes, the next questions are going to be so silly, and then you said something really, really heartfelt.
I'm looking forward to these silly questions, so it's all good.
Okay, well, thank you. Really appreciate that. It really, truly does mean a lot. I know our community has really, really gone a lot because there's a lot of folks within our community who have also had their stories, and so really, really appreciate that. All right, this is the question that I'm sure all of us want to know. If you could be an animal, what would that animal be?
You know, when you sent me these questions, Mark, I really stumbled upon this. So my initial answer was a giraffe, because I've always joked that, not that I am short, but I'm always just short enough that I can't ever reach the thing on the top shelf that I want. And I've always had to rely on somebody else to get it, or get the step stool and make a climb. Or when I was a kid, I, like ninja'd onto the kitchen counters. So I think I would want to be a giraffe. However, in case you didn't catch on, we are dog people, and I think that my dogs have the greatest life in the entire universe. They are two of the laziest couch slobs you are ever going to meet in your life. And I think that maybe I want to be a dog some days, because they're really living the dream. I mean, their dog room has 2 lazy boy recliners and a couch and a TV, and they're living the dream. So I don't know. I'm stuck between a giraffe and a dog.
It sounds like your dogs are living the life. Wow.
I'm telling you,
That's
they
awesome.
are. My children who are now adults joke that they really have questioned most of their teenage and adult lives whether or not I love our dogs more than I love them. Obviously, that is not true, but I can see where they would get that feeling from.
All right.
Dogs do have to share a room, so like.
Yeah. I have one last question before we need to close out our event.
Okay.
Since our event has been mostly focused around video games and obviously us being furries, is there a part of the nerdy culture that you personally love?
Really had to laugh when you sent me this question, Mark. So my husband and I have 2 children. We have a son who just turned 24 and a daughter who is 20. And my son is actually a pro on the Magic Tour. So while I may not have that nerdy culture piece to it, obviously, he broke my husband's heart when he decided he didn't want to be an athlete. He has really the Magic thing has been his thing, and lo and behold, he is making some money on it, much to his father's chagrin. So we are proud. I'm super proud of Chase, and he was never into like the video games and that kind of stuff. He was always, the Magic thing really kind of stuck with him. I think that goes back to my older brothers, so his uncles were big into the Dungeons and Dragons era of the 80s, and they kind of shared that love of that with him when it kind of rebounded again when Chase was a kid. And so the magic world has really kind of struck him. So I have gone to some Comic-Con conventions with him and such, and I've gone to watch him play in some of the Magic tournaments, and so it's really been kind of an eye-opening experience for me. As far as nerdy culture goes, we were born and raised in the Atari generation. I was an 80s baby. And so we still, to this day, have a retro Atari system in our house. And we have a old school Nintendo, we have to blow on the discs in order to make them work, in our house. And every once in a while, you will find my husband and I on a date night jamming out to some Duck Hunt or some original Mario Brothers, or some Centipede on Atari. But aside from that, my husband is of the, he's got a PS whatever number it is behind it now, and he plays all the newest, baseball, football kind of games. My son-in-law is big into gaming. He's in the Marines, and I think every Marine Corps group in the nation, they're all into the, shoot 'em up, bang 'em up, whatever. I can't think of what it's called, but he plays that quite frequently. I hear it constantly in the background when I'm talking to my daughter in California on FaceTime. So I suspect that my grandson, who is due in October, will probably be a gamer. I will not be surprised if he doesn't come out of the womb with a game controller in his hand.
Well, thank you so much once again for coming. I wanted to
Of course,
say
of course.
thank you all, not just from me, but I know our community especially. Can't be thankful enough for you and all that ALS United North Carolina does. I'm very thankful of the community that we've been able to build, and I'm thankful for always being able to provide love and hope for the folks who truly need it, which you guys help facilitate and make that happen. So thank you so much.
Yes, and we couldn't do that, Mark, without you guys. We truly, what you guys raise in a given year for us is a huge impact on our annual budget, and so know that does not go unnoticed in our world.
Well, thank you so much. We have about 30 minutes before we are going to close out, so I'm
gonna hop off here, and I'm gonna hop on Twitch so I can watch you guys do the wrap up. I want to see where we end.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for all you do. All right, bye guys.
Bye. Woo!
Bye.
All right. That was a really awesome thing that Amy did on the last minute. Can we swap off
Oh, your mic
the
needs
display?